and welcome back to OC Avery, and welcome to episode 5 of the Natives in Norwich Zoom Room. In today's episode we're joined by Mr. Tom English, and we focus mainly on the show scene in this side of the hobby. So we're going to talk about different things with Tom's experiences at the different shows and Tom's tips for you when actually looking to show your birds. So hopefully you should find this useful and pick up many tips along the way. I'd also like to mention just before this starts is that we're running an online competition which ends the 17th of April, and it's a photo competition where you sort of post a photo of pairs of birds in your thread that will be pinned at the top of the group. So please do go and enter that. The first prize is a €50 voucher from our sponsor Avian World Dublin, and the second is kindly donated by Nelson Rato, a breeding diary. So thank you very much for donating them, Nelson, and thank you very much Avian World Dublin. So please do enter that, and it's on the group. You will find it at the top. So this is now episode 5. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you find it useful. Hello and welcome back to the Natives in Norwich Zoom Room. This is episode 5 with Tom English, so thank you very much for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about the birds that you keep?
Hi Ollie, thanks for having me on here tonight. Very exciting. My name is Tom English, obviously, and I'm the other half of the partnership TNT English here in Cork City in Ireland. We show natives, mules and hybrids, and we've been keeping birds a long time.
Fantastic. So how did you get started? What age, and was it family that kept birds prior?
Well, Ollie, my dad had birds all his life as a young fella growing up in Cork City, and that's where I got the passion for it then. Obviously, fishing and dogs are very big outdoor activities here in Cork City. So yeah, I got the bug from my dad. Realistically, he used to keep birds, and he used to keep a mule or a finch or a linnet sometimes inside the front door of the house. Long ago, they used to do that in Cork and Blarney Street, and that's where I picked up the bug from my father.
Fantastic. So what sort of birds do you specialise in? Now you gave that a quick cover already.
Since we have been keeping birds, we've been keeping natives, mules, hybrids, some Irish fancy and some Norwich for muley.
Fantastic. So we're going to go straight into now the breeding side of it. So what's the best bird that you've ever bred?
I was looking through my records there earlier on all day, won't lie to you, and I suppose there's only one bird really kind of stands out, and that was a light variegated miniature mule. It's gone back now 2013, 2014. It was like, even though you've been preparing all your birds all year, you'll be pairing birds up. This is what I'm going to do with that. That's what I'm going to do with this. Put them together. Yeah, that's perfect. And it never happened. Only for the finch and the canary, I had a spare finch and I just put them in the corner. And I got a clutch of finch mules. And this one particular bird came out, and it was a hen actually. It was a lovely little light variegated finch mule. I showed it all year, and it won a lot of shows. So that's really the only bird that really sticks out in my mind. Yeah, we've bred couple of birds, but nothing super.
Fantastic. That's quite an achievement, just a variegated mule anyway. Something a bit different there. So what's your greatest accomplishment been when breeding birds? Perhaps producing a hybrid or a record number?
Well, I suppose the accomplishment really hasn't happened yet in regards of, I put down a lot of bullies with red poles and greenies. I have about 6 or 7 pairs of hen bullies outside, paired up with various other natives. So I'm always chasing the Holy Grail. I'm always chasing the red pole bully. I'm always chasing the greenie bully and stuff like that. So we had a very good season back in 2015 in regards of the volume of birds that I had bred. But when you molted them out, it was the most disappointing because they weren't great for the show bench. You know what I mean? So that was, so to say that the accomplishment, yes, to get any bird on the perch and to breed a volume, but sometimes quantity isn't better than in quality. Nowhere.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like you say, actually chasing the hybrids, for example. So fingers crossed that will happen for you very soon.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, please
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So it was brought to me that you have a collection of badges and different things. So did you get them for winning, judging, or both?
Well, it's a bit of both, Ali, if I'm being honest with you. I do collect badges. Anywhere I go, I am always picking badges up. I actually have some here now. I did get some for judging. Yes, you would get some for judging. Like, I got this one for the National British Bird and Mule Club. I got that for judging. They're just little mementos. I would be for a little memento of judging a show rather than, you're banging in your expenses and all that. Like, when you're going away to judge a show, it's a kind of an honour. I think it's an honour to be asked to judge a specialist show. So you'll be getting all these little badges. That's
Oh,
what
wow.
I'm into. I got a lovely little pen badge then when I judged the Welsh National many years ago.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, I do collect them. I collect fishing ones. There's an old one there belonging to my father. It's not board related, but it's a weightlifting badge. You can't get them ones anymore. So yeah, I do collect badges. I love it, and you do get some for judging as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that. So then we just start going to the show side. So what was the first show that you showed at, and what was your first win?
That's gone back a long time now, Ali. Our first show was the Cork Showboard Society, and it was back in 86, 87 in Deer Park. It's a boys' school. A lot of the board shows here in Ireland are held in either halls or the halls that are in the schools. So Deer Park was our first show that we ever exhibited birds at, and it was a junior, and it was a siskin and a chaffinch that we won with at the time, and I never forget it. It was a great buzz, and I had to walk to the hall because my dad wasn't available to drive us, so we had to walk up the box of birds, which was a handy old trek. And that was Halloween. That bird show was held in November, which was around the time of Halloween. So I was petrified going up the road. But yeah, we got there, and yeah, that was the start of it. Ali, that was the start of it back then in the late 80s.
Fantastic. How old were you for that show?
I was just 14, 15, I'd say.
Oh,
It was,
fantastic. Yeah, quite a memorable win then as a young lad showing birds. So what's been your greatest success on the show bench so far?
There's been a lot, Ali. Myself and my father, we've been very lucky that we've, I suppose, picked up a couple of birds along the way. Yeah, to say we picked up a few birds. I suppose back in '97, we got a dark greenfinch mule. We bought him off a breeder, John and Tygo O'Connor. They were from Charleville, County Limerick, and we were just novices at the time. And he was moving on a few birds, so my dad picked up the greenfinch mule. We had him. My dad colour fed him, and we showed him the following year, which was '97. We won Best in Show in Knocknaheeny, CBS, and the following week he went on to get Best in Show again at the Cork CBS. Now, them shows back then, they were getting 1,000 birds, 1,200 birds. And he went on to get second and third best bird and show in Kilkenny, the Southern Native. He got second best mule hybrid and showed the Irish National. So that was a very good year in '97. We were only novices at the time. But there's other shows then that would stick out in mind, like the Paddy Welsh Memorial. We had best mule hybrid, and that was in 2008. That was a great show. Kevin Sweeney Memorial Show. We had best in show on that, and I already judged the week before the Kevin Sweeney Memorial Show that they had in Norwich. So that was kind of like a double whammy, like to judge it one week and to win the cup then the following week that they had here in Ireland, because they had 2 cups put up for Kevin because he was a great boardman. And and then the IBBS a couple of years ago with a red pole mule. So yeah, we've been very lucky down through the years with the birds that we have showed.
Fantastic. That's great, and to go through so many shows like that in the UK and Ireland, that's fantastic. So you and your dad are obviously in partnership. Do you both have your own separate bird rooms, or do you share the same bird room?
No, Ali, we have 2 separate bird rooms. When I left the nest and got married, I built my own shed down the back garden there. So my dad would keep the shorebirds below in his place, and I would have the small little flight cages outside and the little pens for breeding the greenies and so forth in our place. So we have 2 separate sheds. My dad is actually 82 this week, so he's after cutting back. He's gone into a small farm and he'd be tipping away. So we have 2 separate sheds, Ali. So we've the kind of the best of both worlds. If I need a bird, I can go down to my dad's, or I lost a canary and I just go down and take one out of his shed. So yeah, we're lucky there. We've 2 aviaries.
That's fantastic, like you say, with that, and the convenience of just having a place to go to should you lose a bird and you need another one. That's great.
It's only walking distance, Ali. I can walk to my father's house in 1 minute.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you judge a lot of shows in the UK and Ireland. Can you see yourself judging the World Show one day?
I suppose, Ali. Yeah, I'd like to judge the World Show, but there's a lot involved in becoming a judge in the World Show. There's first exams and there's protocols and stuff like that. So yeah, I suppose I would like to. Yes. One time judge the World Show would be, I suppose, a great honour. Yes, the pinnacle of judging birds, I suppose. Yeah, but there's a lot involved, Ali, as far as I know. There's a lot involved, paperwork and exams and stuff like that. So fingers crossed it might happen. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed, and let's hope so. I imagine, like you say, that would be a real honour to actually judge at the World Show as well. So how many shows a year do you judge on average?
Well, that's a good question, Ali, because I only do one CBS and I do one specialist, and that's in Ireland. And if there's one in England, I would do that. But it's very disheartening when you pick up a schedule. Now, this is just my opinion. And the first show of the year, which, for argument's sake, is Swords. And they have their list of judges down. And then the following week is Cork. And then the following week is Kilkenny. And then you have Waterford and so forth. But if you have a judge that's after agreeing to do one show, which is the first show of the year, and then he's doing the second one, and then he's doing the fourth one. Well, if you didn't win under him, Ali, at the first show, you're not probably going to go. Now, you will support the show, but you're not going in there very full-hearted that if he didn't win under him in the first show, he's not going to win in on him the second show or the third. So I only just pick one show, a CBS show and a special show, if I'm lucky to get engaged. So I don't do many engagements, or I wouldn't clash. I have refused them. Ali, I have refused. No, sorry, I'm doing with a show in Cork or a show in Waterford, and it wouldn't be fair in that club for me to accept another. You know, so I'd pick them, Ali, like.
Yeah, that's very considerate as well, saying, like you say, if it's the same person judging a lot of different shows, then you're more than likely going to be disregarding certain birds, maybe more than once,
exactly.
I guess.
Exactly, Ali. It's very disheartening when you pick up your schedule, because at the start of the year, Ali, especially in Ireland, each club secretary would hand out the schedules, and normally they'd have them a print and ready for the first show. So you're going to the first show and you could end up going home with 4 schedules in your hand, and you're looking, and there's one native judge on 3 shows, and you're saying to yourself, mother of good God, like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm very conscious of when I'm doing shows, and I have refused them.
That's fair enough, and obviously I'm sure a lot of people do appreciate that as well, with just being considerate of that. So when you judge a native bird, do you start with the head and work down to the feet, or do you have a different method?
Well, I'd always throw your eye long first, Ali. You'd be down to your last 10, and you're throwing your eye long. Yes, you would. I've often a habit of putting my bird left to right. I'd always put my first, second, third, fourth. It's obviously easier for when you get your finalise, you're writing down your numbers and you're glancing along. But yeah, I start from the head and you'd walk your way right down through the body, down to the toes, and you're down to the nitty gritty then, like Ali. So yeah, I would start with the head and work my way down the body.
Fantastic. So then, when you judge native bullfinches, do you look for half chats, and how would you tell a half chat from a native?
When I'm judging, well, I wouldn't be going looking for half chats now, Ali. I'd have an open mind when I go into a show, but to be going looking for half chats, no, I wouldn't, Ali. But yes, I've won with bullfinches. I've had a lot of bullfinches in my shed and in my hand and stuff. So, half chats now is a very controversial thing here in Ireland, Ali. There's fellas have Siberian bullies and so forth, and they're breeding them down and they're crossing them down and they're getting them down to a fine art. So I don't go looking for them, Ali, no, but if I'm half dubious or sitting on the fence at one, I probably might just leave them to the side and go with a different bird. But it's very hard, Ali, they have it down to a fine art now, the crossbreeding of the bullfinches with the Irish native birds.
Yeah, now that's fair enough. So what's your preference in a bird? Do you look for the size or the type? So you might be presented with a small bird with good feather or a large bird with an average feather. What would be the decider for you?
Oh, a small bird with good feather, Ali. A small bird. Nice yellow bully, nice yellow finch, a lovely yellow skin, cobby bird. But yeah, definitely yellow feather with better, fine quality, good quality feather, rather than a big buff bird. Buff means big and coarse, and yeah, so yeah, that would be my preference. Would be a yellow feathered bird all day long.
Okay, thank you very much. So you've shown some small softbills at the IMBBS show. What do you look for in them, and would you consider showing large softbills in the future?
Yeah, myself and my father have showed softbills, small softbills at the specialist shows. We showed a Dunnock and we showed a Meadow Pipit that won the Paddy Welsh Memorial Show, Best Softbill. Dave Henderson actually judged that show. It was a hen Meadow Pipit. Yeah, you're just looking for a nice clean feathered bird, Ali. Softbills can be a bit taboo in a cage. So you're looking for a nice bird that has a nice tail feather, nice clean tail feather, and nice movement in the cage, and well presented. I do decorate the cage nicely. So realistically, you're just looking for a nice type bird. Fantastic.
So what type of softbills do you keep or have kept and have shown?
Just only a couple of small. I'd love if I won the lotto, I'd love to have a setup that I could keep softbills. I've often showed a softbill for years. My friend always showed a softbill, and it wasn't for a soft award. There could only be two there. It's later now. In the last couple of years, Ali, there's Jerry Kidd and Shay Cullen. They're here in Ireland. They're starting to exhibit a lot more softbills now at a bigger stage. So I'd love to keep softbills, but there's a lot of work on them, and you need a lot of space, and there's a lot of mind in them. So the small softbills just do me now for the time being. Just to keep a couple in the shed and do my fathers, and just to keep your hand in there. But yeah, I'd like to see a lot more on the bench, Ali. I would.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that. And obviously, at least in my experience with going to shows, you don't see a lot of softbills there. So actually having more softbills there would be ideal to give you a better representation of what you can keep and better birds.
Well, Ali, I tell now, Jerry Kidd, I mentioned him a while ago, Jerry Kidd and Shay Cullen, they're absolutely spot on with their birds, and they're starting to exhibit them now at the CBS, not just specialist shows, which, when I'm at the meetings of our club, I'd be saying, lads, we need to put in more awards. We need to put in more awards for the specials. and we often put in an extra couple of Softbill awards just to entice. And we got them. The latest is starting to work, and just more fellas are getting into them. So please God, the next couple of shows there'll be a lot more Softbills on the bench.
Yeah, let's hope so. So when you're judging your birds, then actually let's go to this one first, just while we're on Softbills. So what could you just give for mainly the novices? What size rings would you put on certain Softbills? Perhaps thrushes, pipits, sparrows, different birds like that.
Well, they all vary in sizes now. So you're starting from A like down to E's and all the sizes. But like you could, like for novices, like the way I found out, Ali, is you have the British Softbill Society and the BBC in England. Now, you can look up their websites and they give you all the sizes of all the rings, and that's what I done. But the smaller softbills have E's and D's. They're very small. But look, everything's only a fingertip away. I found the British Bird Council and the British Softbill Society, Rob Brown, very informative, and they can look it up there, Ali.
Thank you very much. So when you're judging, then what's your decider for a bird that's best in show? What do you look for, and how do you choose the best bird?
Right. How do you choose the best bird in show? Well, see, Ali, judging birds, at the end of the day, it's the club have decided to ask you to judge the show, and you've accepted, and all they want off you is your opinion. So you go in, you judge your classes, your section winners, you wangle it down to 2 or 3 birds. So for argument's sake, you could have a finch, a bully, and a greenfinch. And you're judging them 3 birds under 3 different merits. Finch for blaze, the bully for cobbiness and colour, the greenie for size and colour. And at the end of the day, Ali, it's the bird that you want to walk out the door with. So when I'm standing there and I'm saying to myself, that's the bird that I want to take out the door with me and bring home and introduce into my shed. So, as well as all the other factors now, they have to have everything. So, from to get their section winners, they merit to be there. But at the end of the day, Ali, it's only an opinion. It's only my opinion. Them 3 birds, Ali, could be up in front of you 5 minutes after I judge them, and you would walk away with the bully, where I would pick the finch. But it's only just an opinion.
Yes,
that's the way I walk it, Ali. Like that's my way that I do it. Like
so you go more towards the so I guess your favourite bird and the bird that you want to take home would be your best in show.
Well, I wouldn't have a favourite. I would be fair across the board. But I would be just very fair in that that finch is walking the perch or that bully, it's down, you're down to nitty gritty. And if you're down then, Ali, to something you're looking at in the cage, if a champion exhibitor has his bird in front of you and there's one has a cage and it's immaculate, and then the other one is walking with the dirt, you're going to lean to the bird and to the exhibitor, because you must remember it's that exhibitor that put the time into that bird to get him into the condition he's in, and to show him in a shabby cage. And do you know what I mean? It's a non-runner.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So what's your opinion on exhibitors only showing birds that they've bred, and if that rule was enforced, do you think we'd be missing out on some good birds at shows?
Well, owner-bred bird work in the canary sections. It works very well in the canary sections, but then the canary sections, them breeders are breeding 60, 70 Irish Fancy, Gloucesters, Fifes, Borders, where then you don't have that volume of exhibitors breeding that volume of birds. So if it was introduced, I'd say we'd lose out a lot of birds on the bench, Ali. I think the natives here in Ireland and the mules and hybrids would suffer on the bench, and you'd only possibly have, if you're getting an average of 300, 350 natives, mules and hybrids, 400 at some big CBS shows, you could put that down to 150. You would be losing birds, Ali, yeah.
Right, okay.
There's a lot of fellas out there, Ali, breeding birds that don't exhibit, and they're selling them in the car parks, and they're getting money for bags of seed and stuff like that. They have no interest in showing, so they are breeding them and they're selling them on. So yeah, I think that the native would section would drop off if it was owner bred birds. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And obviously that's the last thing what we want is less natives at shows, because like you said earlier, when there was maybe 1,200 birds at a show and now we're down to an average of 300-400 natives at a show, that'd be that wouldn't be very good at all. So what advice would you give to someone who's taking up judging?
Well, I tell you now, Ali, I was mad for it when I was when I still in the club, when I was in the Southern Native here, the Native Club here in Cork City. I was fascinated. I always wanted to learn about the exhibiting side of it and the judging side of it, what they're looking for, and I always put myself forward for stewarding. When all the judges came over from England, and I'd steward the champion section, because I was a novice at the time. I was never left a steward my own section, but there's no young people coming into this hobby either, Ali, especially in the natives. All other sections are suffering, but I would encourage any young fella that's in the hobby to put himself forward for stewarding. That's where I learned my trade, stewarding. I know people might say it's a thankless job, bringing the cages up and down and landing them in front of the judge, but the judge will always engage with you. He'll always say, "What do you think of that?" Or, you know what I mean? And I would think that any young fella should put himself forward for stewarding, and then as a trainee judge. In the club that I was involved in, they were looking for young judges, and I was put forward. And I tell you, I grabbed it by the two horns, and I never let go, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
No, that's great. So it's sort of like working up the ranks in terms of the different roles at a show, I guess.
Yeah, my first judging engagement was Kilkenny CBS show, which was a big show now, Ali. It still is a big show, unfortunately, with the COVID and stuff like that, but CBS was a big show, and I was very, very, very nervous, Ali. It won't lie, I was saying, oh my God, I'm only gone up champion. I never forget it. The Cork CBS show had their show, and they had Jack Lloyd over, and he was judging the natives, and we had best champion native in show with a cock red pole, and we were over the moon with this now. Like, Jack was mad about the board and so forth. And then I was judging then the following weekend. So I went up to Kilkenny for the weekend, booked myself into the hotel. It was all the business, and I went to the show hall, and I started. I was nervous, but I had two very good experienced stewards with me, and they were putting the boards in front of me, and I never forget it. When it came to best in show, Ali, I know this was a learning curve for me at the time. We were coming for best in show, and I bought up a linnet belonged to Shawnee Cross. I bought up my linnet, I put him up on the bench, and all the other judges were there, and they were all looking at their boards, and I bought up the linnet. And I was throwing my eye along all the other boards that was there. There was an Norwich, there was an Irish Fancy, Border, Fife, Farm, the whole lot. So then the secretary would give you a sheet of paper, and he'd ask you to judge the board, but you can't give your own board 10 points. I never forget this, Nolly, to this day. Two judges came over to me. Well, what about your linnet? I said, yeah, my linnet came out of a big strong class there, but I think there was 14 cock linnets in the class, and I think there was 300 native there. I says, he done well to come out of that section. I says, oh, he's a lovely linnet, blah, 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 blah. So the two judges says to me, we'll give your linnet 10 if you give up board 10. Do you know what I mean? So they were asking me. So I said, yeah, right, look. And I remember the advice I got off a friend of mine, Willie Wells. Do your own thing. You go up there, you pick your board, and just stick to your guns and do your own thing. So as it turned out, anyway, you can't give your own board 10. I gave him 9, and I walked my way down the ranks. I handed the sheets in. As it turned out, anyway, the Norwich Canary got best in show, and the Linda got second. So I'd fast forward now, Ali, to this Sunday morning I was there and I was talking to the show secretary, and he said, "You've done a fabulous job, Tom. We're all delighted." Everyone was congratulating me. It was fabulous. And as it turned out, the two judges that asked me to give their boards the 10 and the 9 actually never gave the Linnet anything. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
so that was a
wow.
learning curve for me. So they never gave anything to my Linnet. But look, that was just one of those incidents that stick out in my head. But like, I've judged the Welsh National, and that was another big show. Phil Bassett asked myself and Willie Welsh to go over, and we judged the Welsh National, and Dave Mason won with a greeny hen. But I never forget it. After the show, the amount of exhibitors that would actually ask you, Ollie, why did my board win? Or could you tell me why did my board come third in the class? And you know, like, I do find in the UK that the exhibitors are a lot more asking of questions. They would ask you a lot more. Like a CBS show here, you would say, yeah, that's it. They'd say, "Hi Tom," or "Hi boy," or whatever, but they'd never query you. Maybe one or two would, but I would find in the UK that you would get a lot of questions about why did this board not get that.
Right. So, from maybe the point of view of the person exhibiting that bird, do you think they was looking for maybe some constructive criticism where they could, where they could improve? Yes. Right. Okay.
100%, Ali. It's not that I didn't pick their board because I knew them. Obviously, you don't. You're spot on, Ali. It's constructive criticism they're looking for. So, like, if you're looking and you're down to two boards, and you're down to tail feathers being ducty or things like that, Ali. You're down to minute questions like some boards, and they're wild. There could be 6 screenies in the class, and there's 3 mental, and then there's one, you know, that's standing out. But it's the people that run the boards that are wild that are coming up saying, "Why didn't they win? They're yellow boards," because they're taboo in the cage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something that I definitely do. I think actually just asking the judge, where can I improve, because obviously you're going to become a better birdman from that and understand your birds better by taking the opinion of the judge on board with that. So thank you very much for sharing that. So is there anything else that you want to mention, any stories to tell, any I don't know, funny stories from shows or something?
I suppose there's one funny story. I suppose there's a story. His anniversary there is coming up actually in a couple of weeks' time. A local exhibitor here in Cork, Mick O'Connell is his name, and he had came to the show on a Friday night at the Cork show, and he had 4 boxes of boards, and he had entered in all his boards, and the show went ahead. And Saturday evening, Mick came to the hall and he couldn't find his yellow hammer. Everyone now was looking for this yellow hammer. He was checked in. We checked the lifting cards. He was checked in. He entered the hall on paper, but we couldn't find him. So there was a big rigmarole, a big drama about the board. And on the Sunday morning, he was still given out, and we were still going mad that Mick's board, we thought, was after being taken out of the hall. As it turned out, anyway, when he was picking up his boxes and he was gathering his other 13 boards, he opened the box and there was the yellow hammer still inside the box. He checked him in, but put him back down into the box and closed the door. So, big laugh and a joke, big, you know, them days now, Ali, you were able to have a liquid lunch. So there was a bit of banter going on around the hall. We're saying, Mick, you had a couple of drinks on you and stuff like that. But as it turned out, the board was grand. He exhibited the following weekend and he got best in show. So that was a funny story with Mick. Mick O'Connor was a nice character. His anniversary actually is this week. Other stories, I really don't have any other kind of stories. I suppose... No, I don't have any other stories, funny stories. I suppose when I go away to judge a show, Ali, a lot of fellas do joke about this, is that I never take a pint on the Friday night before a show. be it in Ireland or in the UK. I never take a point because you're being asked over to judge boards that fellas have prepared all year for this specialist show. And then 9 out of 10, because everyone travels to the show and book into the hotel, they see the judge in the corner having a point. Just say, look at him, he's after coming all the way from Ireland and all he's doing is drinking, and I'm after bringing my board. So I never take a point, Ali. I make up for it on the Saturday night, but I would never. I would definitely go into judging the show with a clear head, and for a better word, give nothing to talk about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's that's fair enough. I guess you don't want that.
No,
no,
definitely don't want that.
So that's fair enough. Is there anything else you'd like to show us, mention, anything else before we end this recording?
I suppose, first of all, Ali, I'd like to congratulate yourself and Mac Finch and Dave and all your admin team there. You're after taking this online Zoom calls and to sport, especially Ali, with the lockdown. No one could see each other. I know for a fact that my father misses 100% going to the board shows. He misses going to Friday night having a cup of tea with me, checking the boards. He misses the Sunday morning, the wheeling and dealing in the car park, and he misses his friends. Now I know my dad's not on social media, but I'm telling him all the time. I show him, I bring down my phone and show him the videos and stuff like that. So what you're after doing here, Ali, is bringing this to the next level. It's everyone's contactable. You had 4 other fellas in front of me. You had Owen Welsh, you had the lads with the Norwich from Wales, you had Dave Henderson, and you had Dave Collin. So like this is brilliant, and I applaud you. And you've great vision of what you're doing. The lads in Avium all there are getting behind you, so they obviously see something in you as well, that they're getting behind you. And obviously the Native and Norwich Facebook page is fantastic, and just like to congratulate you all.
Thank you very much.
More so you, because you're the brain behind all this, like.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Obviously I put a lot of effort into this, so everyone enjoys it, hopefully. Anyway, so thank you very much for coming on, Tom, and I
hope I covered everything, Ali. I hope I covered everything. So
you've covered it great, so thank you very much. So that does bring us to the end of episode 5. So I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching. Us at Natives in Norwich really appreciate the support that you're showing by watching these videos, and I'm hoping that you are finding them useful and you are enjoying them as much as I am filming them, and I'm sure a lot of other people find them. Just a reminder, we are running the online competition, so please do make sure you go and enter that. You've got plenty of different prizes there, and really good prizes as well. So I'd like to say thank you once again to Overin World Dublin and Nelson Rato for that. It's just a pair of birds, a photo of a pair of birds. You can have as many entries as you like, and I believe it will be the admin team actually judging these photos, so please do get as many through as possible. So if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe so you get to follow along, and if you have enjoyed it, leave us a like, and that supports us and shows us that you would like to see more. If you have any suggestions, then please do leave them in the comments of how we could improve these videos, but also maybe people that you would like to see on these videos and have a Natives and Norwich Zoom room call with. And then if you would like to, please do hit the notification bell and share this video with someone who you think would find this useful, and you won't miss out on any of my new content. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.